Aegeus, ruler of the mighty city of Athens, faced a crisis threatening his legacy. Despite his numerous victories and having consolidated his kingdom, the lack of a legitimate heir tormented him. The stability of his throne hung in the balance, for without a direct successor, rivals and ambitious factions were stirring in the shadows, waiting to seize the opportunity to claim power. Aegeus, worried about the uncertain future of his lineage and his people, sought the oracle's wisdom at Delphi, the most sacred sanctuary of ancient Greece, famous for its prophecies. The journey was arduous, traversing mountainous roads and bleak valleys. Still, the urgency of his need gave him endurance and speed. Arriving at the temple of Apollo, Aegeus presented his offerings and consulted the oracle, expecting a clear and favorable answer. However, in his typical enigmatic manner, the oracle provided him with a prophecy that left him more confused and frustrated than before. "Do not untie the bulging wineskin until you have reached the height of Athens." Unable to decipher the cryptic words, Aegeus left Delphi with more questions than answers. Aegeus, still confused by the riddle of the oracle, arrived in the city of Theseus, where he was welcomed with honors by King Theseus. The astute Theseus, known for his wisdom and ability to interpret the messages of the gods, deduced the meaning behind the words of the oracle and saw an opportunity. He planned a meeting between his daughter, Etra, and the king of Athens, hoping that from their union would be born the next great leader of Athens. On the night of the meeting, Theseus hosted a banquet in honor of Aegeus. Music filled the air as glasses of wine circulated endlessly, woven by the king of Theseus to dispel his guests' weariness. Unoblivious to Theseus's intentions, Aegeus gave himself to the merriment and the wine, becoming deeply intoxicated. Under the veiled influence of Theseus, Aegeus and Etra met, and the prophecy began to take shape. With the coming of dawn, Aegeus, his mind clouded by the remnants of the wine, barely remembered the previous night's events. However, aware that his fate was intertwined with that of Athens, he took precautions before continuing his journey. He left his sword and sandals hidden under a heavy rock as a test and promise for the child that might be born of his union with Etra. Thus, should Etra give birth to a son, he could one day claim his inheritance in Athens. With this act, Aegeus left a silent legacy, a sign for the future heir to his throne. In Theseus, Etra raises her son secretly, aware of his royal progeny. Theseus, oblivious initially to his divine lineage, forged ahead in strength and skill, surpassing his peers in all martial arts and wisdom. His mother watched him with pride, knowing that Theseus' destiny lay beyond the walls of Theseus in the polis that towered over the Acropolis of Athens. As a young man, Theseus already exhibited the cunning and vigor that would make him one of Greece's greatest heroes. Etra then decided that the time had come to reveal the truth to him. She led him to the rock where Aegeus had left his belongings years before, indicating the proof of his noble birth. Theseus, moved by the revelation and the desire to meet his father, accepted the challenge to lift the heavy rock that held the royal objects. To demonstrate his divine heritage, Theseus removed the stone, reclaiming his father's sword and sandals. This act marked the beginning of his journey to Athens, and with the objects of Aegeus in hand, he departed with his mother's blessing, embarking on the path that would transform him into legend. Theseus, carrying the relics of his father, King Aegeus, chose the overland path to Athens, a path infested with dangers only the bravest dared to take. The route was plagued by evildoers and creatures that terrorized travelers. It was a real challenge that would test the courage and cunning of the young hero. Each of these evil beings was a remnant of an older and wilder time, a challenge that Theseus had to overcome to reach his destination. Accordingly, he confronted Peripetes, the crippled Chromian, who beat the travelers with his club. With cunning and strength, Theseus defeated him, taking his weapon as a trophy. Later, on the banks of the river Cephisus, he encountered Procrustes, a sinister innkeeper who mutilated his guests to fit his iron bed. Theseus applied to the bandit his own medicine, adjusting him to the bed with the strength that justice bestowed upon him. Continuing his way, he overcame Cremon's fierce javelin. He tricked Sciron, who forced the travelers to wash his feet and then kicked them toward the sea rocks where a sea monster awaited. Theseus threw him into the sea, ending his reign of terror. When Theseus arrived in Athens, the city was not as he had imagined. It was full of intrigue and danger, not least because of the presence of Medea, whose thirst for power and dark abilities had made her a feared and respected figure. Aegeus, though king, seemed to be under her spell, and the city was oppressed by her influence. Meanwhile, Theseus, oblivious to the political dangers and machinations at court, sought to present himself to his father without arousing suspicion or enmity. Cautiously, Theseus was introduced to the court as a young man of great promise without revealing his true identity. Medea, shrewd and suspicious, saw in him a potential rival and devised a plan to get rid of him before he could become a threat. She would suggest to Aegeus that he host a banquet in the young man's honor, during which she would serve him a lethal poison. Aegeus, oblivious to the truth behind Medea's intentions, agreed, unaware that he was about to make a fatal mistake. However, at the banquet, as Theseus is about to drink the poison wine, he reveals his identity by showing the sword his father had left behind years before. Aegeus, recognizing the sword, knocked the cup out of Theseus' hands, thus preventing him from drinking the poison. The revelation came as a shock to everyone, especially Medea, who saw her plan crumble in an instant. The king, filled with joy and relief to discover that his son was alive and well, embraced Theseus, marking the beginning of a new era for Athens and the end of Medea's sway in the city. Theseus volunteered to join the young Athenians who would be sent to Crete as a tribute to the fearsome Minotaur, a half-man, half-bull monster that inhabited the labyrinth built by Daedalus. Upon his arrival, Theseus caught the attention of Ariadne, the daughter of King Minos. She, in love with the brave prince, decided to help him by providing him with a ball of thread so that he could find his way back after confronting the Minotaur. This thread, which Ariadne obtained from Daedalus himself, would be the key for Theseus not to get lost in the complex structure of the labyrinth. Armed only with his courage and Ariadne's thread, Theseus entered the tangled labyrinth. The labyrinth was an impressive construction, with corridors that twisted and turned on themselves, explicitly designed to disorient and trap anyone who entered. The silence of the place was interrupted only by Theseus' footsteps and the occasional distant echo of the Minotaur. Following the thread, he moved cautiously but confidently through the darkness, aware that each step brought him closer to the beast. Finally, Theseus came face to face with the Minotaur. The creature was as ferocious and formidable as the tales suggested, its eyes filled with a rage that had never been quenched. The combat was violent and agile, with Theseus dodging the beast's onslaught and looking for an opportunity to strike. With a mixture of cunning and strength, Theseus delivered the killing blow to the Minotaur, ending its reign of terror. After the fight, Theseus used the thread to retrace his steps and leave the labyrinth, taking with him the certainty of having freed his people from the cruel tribute imposed by Crete. The journey home began after Theseus' heroic deed in Crete, defeating the Minotaur and freeing Athens from its human tribute. Before leaving, he had agreed on a sign with his father Aegeus. If he returned victorious, he would hoist white sails. If he perished, the sails would be black. However, caught up in the whirlwind of his victory and the consequences that followed, Theseus forgot this vital detail, and the black sails remained billowing on the mast of his ship. Meanwhile, Aegeus, whose heart was beating anxiously for the fate of his son, spent his days on the Acropolis of Athens, scrutinizing the horizon for signs of the ship. At last, one day, he caught sight of a ship approaching in the distance but with the fateful black sails. Desolation seized his spirit, and the king, overwhelmed with despair, could not conceive the possibility that his son had missed the signal instead of having fallen in battle. His eyesight blurred with tears, and his heart broken with grief, Aegeus saw no way out but to throw himself from the high rocks into the sea that lay below. His body was engulfed by the waves, and thus, the king of Athens met his end. This rash act, born of love and anguish for his son, gave the sea its perpetual name, the Aegean Sea, a testament to a father's love and the consequences of a tragic oblivion.